The Republicans in the state legislatures keep trying to impose their bullshit Christian lies and deceptions on everybody that lives in their state. This is the problem I have with Christianity. You don't read about Jews in a state legislature trying to impose some stricture or admonition from Judaism, except for the part that the Christians have stolen, like the Ten Commandments, which no Christian ever acknowledges or honors. But you don't see Jews or Hindus or Muslims trying to force their religious bullshit by legislating laws that codifies what they believe in their spiritual life. You don't see Jews doing that. You don't see Muslims doing that. Not in this country. But the Christians will do it every goddamn chance they have. Like in North Carolina. A state court yesterday, or on Monday, blocked the use of current congressional districts in North Carolina for the 2020 election, which will lead to the drawing of new districts that could make several of the Republican-held districts far more competitive. Oh no! Competitive? Oh fuck! If it's an honest competition, we Republicans always lose! That's why we gerrymander the state. In North Carolina, the state's House delegation to Washington is made up of 10 Republicans and 3 Democrats. But many of the Republican-leaning districts rely on the same strategies the court rejected in a previous case about state legislative seats, including, and this is a great Republican trick, splitting Democratic strongholds in some parts of the state while packing as many Democratic voters as possible into other districts. Like the Democrats in North Carolina are cattle or enslaved people or foreigners or subhumans. I know North Carolina. I used to live there twice. And I wonder now, I never paid too much attention to this back in the day because Christian religion wasn't being jammed in everybody's goddamn face. But I just wonder about the Christian Democrats in North Carolina. And I've given a chance to talk to them, which I don't have, but I would say, what are you people doing? You're Christian, you're Democrat. I would assume that you have as your central faith a type of Christianity that these Republican fascists wouldn't recognize. If you said, well, this is what Jesus said, they would tell you you're full of shit. So why are you Christian Democrats, why do you allow this to go on? Drawing new House districts in North Carolina, according to the Washington Post, could spell more difficulty for either Representative Mark Meadows, him. He was one of those people who stood there behind, I think it was Mark Meadows, stood behind Liz Cheney with that sour, shit-eating look on his face. Shut the bitch up! What's she talking about? Nobody should be accusing Lindman of being the spy. Mark Meadows and Representative Patrick McHenry, Republicans who split voters in Asheville. Asheville is a blue city in North Carolina if ever one existed. So what they do, what the Republicans in the legislature do, they split the city so that some of the blue voters, the Democratic voters in Asheville, have to vote in this district over here that's also been gerrymandered to give Republicans a majority. And the rest of the citizens of Asheville have to vote in this Republican district over here. And that's how you destroy the possibility of Democrats exercising the power that their state constitution and the federal constitution gives them. But Republicans don't give a shit about any constitution, even the constitution that Jesus Christ put out there. They don't care about that shit. Nah. Asheville, North Carolina. Asheville... That's where Vanderbilt's house is. What's it called, Kathy? Biltmore. Yeah, the biggest mansion, I guess it still is, biggest mansion in America by one of those predatory capitalist pigs from a century and a half ago. But Asheville itself is a delightful city. It's like Austin, Texas, in its political leanings. A lot of artists moved up there in the 70s and 80s and 90s. A lot of artists, potters, weavers, writers. You know, people who don't think with their sphincter muscles like Republicans do. People who don't want to beat you in the face with the Bible like Republicans do. People who believe in the Constitution of the United States like Republicans don't. That's Asheville. Where was I? Before the 2012 election cycle, the first to use new maps drawn after the last census, the state's congressional delegation included 7 Democrats and 6 Republicans. Now it's 10 Republicans and 3 Democrats. What happened? Did the Democrats all move somewhere? No. Republicans won control of the legislature in 2010 and drew new maps for 2012 that favored their party. Wouldn't you think in the age of Facebook and that little prick Mark Zuckerberg and quantum computing and all this marvelous, marvelous technology, that an algorithm could be developed? I'm sure it would take a good physics or computer specialist, maybe a day, maybe less than that, to develop a logarithm that would honestly and justly divide any state, but North Carolina we're talking about, into truly representative districts that reflected the will of the people who lived in those districts, instead of this horse shit. In the 2018 elections just held, the off-year elections, all 3 winning Democrats won their districts with 70% or more of the vote, while only 1 Republican, who was unopposed, received more than 60% of the vote. What does that tell you? The filing for the election period 2020 opens December 2nd. Anyway, as reported by the Post, redistricting advocates took to state courts this year in the wake of a Supreme Court decision in June that ruled that partisan gerrymandering was a matter for state courts to decide. State courts. During Reconstruction, state courts, after the first blow, where all of a sudden enslaved people, no longer enslaved, began to send representatives and senators to their state legislatures and to the federal government. The white folk couldn't stand that shit. What? So imagine if the state courts back then would have had the power to decide on gerrymandering. But this is what the white folk want. The white folk want nobody but other white folk to sit in the arenas of power. No, can't let the Negroes or the foreigners or those ones that wear turbans and shit. We can't let them. No. A 3-judge panel in Wake County Superior Court last month ordered North Carolina's state legislative districts to be redrawn, after ruling that partisan gerrymandering violated the state constitution. State constitution? Republicans don't give a shit about no state constitution. What? State constitution? Oh, man, shit. They don't care about that. That same panel, 3-judge panel in Wake County, approved the new legislative districts on Monday and in a separate ruling blocked the use of the current congressional districts. That sentence doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Oh, well. Attorneys for the plaintiffs hailed the injunction, the plaintiffs being people who want to have a representative that truly represents them. Go to Washington, those are the plaintiffs. They called it both a sign that they're likely to prevail in an upcoming trial and an indication that the court is committed to ensuring new maps for the next election. The trial will be the legitimacy of what these Republican pigs have done in North Carolina. Elizabeth Theodore, a partner with Arnold and Porter, which is one of the law firms, I guess, that represent the plaintiffs, said this, quote, North Carolina's congressional districts are easily the most gerrymandered in the country. This decision proves that despite the Supreme Court's ruling from this past June, courts can remedy partisan gerrymandering. The court recognized that democracy is too important to wait. Every single congressional election in North Carolina this decade has proceeded under unconstitutional maps. Now at least North Carolina's voters will get one chance to vote in fair congressional elections, end quote. How about that? How about that? Now, Elizabeth Theodore said that the plaintiffs would quickly file a motion for summary judgment in the case. What they're looking for now, the state court blocked the use of the current gerrymandered bullshit, but the court did not rule that it has to be changed. And that's what they're looking for, a motion for summary judgment in the case. State Senate Leader Phil Berger, who's a Republican, who has criticized former Attorney General Holder for his state redistricting initiative, not Attorney General Holder, somebody else, said, anyway, this state Republican leader said the decision underlines the importance of state court races. He said, with judges deciding behind closed doors how many members of Congress from each party is acceptable, that's not what they're deciding, you lying little fuck. Judicial elections have become the most consequential in America. See what they do? Of course you do. I'll see you next time. In the meantime, take care. Keep it lit. I'm Mike Malloy.
Greetings, truth seekers. It's that time of year again. Time to help your humble and obedient podcaster keep it lit by keeping the lights on in the Malloy studio with a podcast pledge drive. All October, we are giving away freebies, goodies, and gifts as thank yous for subscribing or renewing your Malloy podcast at the Trump recession level reduced price of $49 a year. It's a different giveaway each week, truth seekers. Everything from an autographed copy of Mike's book, Colored Ice Cream, to my holiday baked goods. Already have a Malloy podcast? Well, it makes a great gift. And remember, podcast subscribers also get exclusive access to the weekend bonus shows, which might be hosted by Mike or by me. We even have a teen show coming up featuring Molly and her friends. Just visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe or renew today. Keep it lit.